All right, up first today, the Miami Hurricanes. This one was requested a lot. Some interest, I guess, from a lot of the Georgia fans who watch Uncle Lou. Of course, Miami has Georgia's leftover coach, Mark Richt, the football Jesus. $4 million a year youth pastor down there in Coral Gables now. But anyway, what do they look like this year? I'm expecting them to have a pretty good year. They did pretty good last year, finally won a bowl game after about a decade of not winning one. They did finally win a bowl game last year, and Mark Richt will get you to 9-10 wins a year, no problem. Now getting over and above that, that might be a different story. But anyway, they got to find a quarterback. What's his name they had down there, started for 3 years, Brad Kaya, I guess it was. He's gone now. So they got to find a quarterback. They got a guy, I guess he's like a junior or something, Malik Rozier, sort of a dual threat. I guess he's going to get the start. They also have a freshman who wouldn't surprise me if he sees some playing time this year. He's pretty highly recruited, 4-star, I think. He likes to run around too. So we'll see what they decide to do there. I expect Malik Rozier probably to get to start game one, though. They got a running back returning that went over 1,000 last year, and a wide receiver, a freshman wide receiver last year that had a really good year. I think if he didn't have 1,000 yards, he was close. I think he broke Michael Irvin's freshman receiving record down there too. But anyway, so they've got some skill position players. They need to find a couple more wide receivers. And they've got some work to do on the offensive line. And quarterback, of course. Now, defensive-wise, their front seven should be lights out. Really, really good front seven. They started, I think, didn't they start 3 freshman linebackers last year? I think they were the only team in America to do that. Started 3 freshman linebackers, so of course they're all back. Front seven will be good. They got some things to work on in the secondary. So they've got some holes, so hard to put Miami in the really, really good or elite category right now, especially in the preseason until we see how some of these pieces are going to fit in. Got to find a quarterback, and we'll see. But I think they're going to have a pretty good year. Let's take a look at the schedule here, and we'll figure out, am I right or am I wrong? All right, week 1 at home, you're playing something called Bethune-Cookman. You should beat them without a problem. If you don't, something is drastically wrong. Week 2, you travel to Arkansas State. Why? What's up with Miami playing these weird road games? Why are you playing at Arkansas State? Why did you play at Appalachian State last year? The answer is obvious. Miami fans don't want to admit it. But let's just be real. No one goes to your home games. Okay, you average about 15,000 people a game at your home games. Pathetic. Miami and Georgia Tech attendance is just head scratching. I don't get it. But you'll start out 2-0 before your week 3 game against Florida State. Now you have to play them at Florida State this year, and I don't see you winning that game. I'm going to put this in a toss-up for now because this is a rivalry game, and this was a good game last year. Honestly, Miami had this game won last year, to be honest. I thought Miami should have won that game, and they sort of gave it away in typical Mark Richt fashion. Get used to that, Hurricane fans. But they sort of gave it away in typical Mark Richt fashion and lost that game. They should have won at home. Now this year they got to travel to Tallahassee. I don't see you winning that game. I think Florida State is an elite team this year, and I think they beat you. But to try to be fair and to keep you from getting too aggravated, I'm going to put that in the toss-up category. Then you play at home against Toledo. I'm giving you a win there, but Toledo's not a gimme or a pushover. In terms of your lower tier schools, they have the ability to score some points. So don't go to sleep on them, but I don't expect you to lose that game. I give you a win. And then, let's see, at Duke, you'll get a W there. Duke kind of hard to figure out. Typically, they're not very good at all. Over the last 5 or 6 years, they have had a couple of above-average seasons. I don't expect too much from them this year, though. I think you'll get the win on the road at Duke, taking you into your bye week. All right, so that puts you at 4 wins and the Florida State game. I think that's going to be a loss. I'm giving you a toss-up here, so 4 wins and a toss-up takes you into your bye week. Then you're home against Georgia Tech. You'll kill Georgia Tech. Mark Richt is Georgia Tech's daddy, okay? Mark Richt owns Georgia Tech. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Georgia Tech has no chance in this game. This game will be ugly, in my opinion. It wouldn't surprise me at all you beat Georgia Tech by 30-something points. I mean, I could see like a 48-17 type of game here. I think Miami really puts a beating on Georgia Tech this year. Follow that up with another home game to Syracuse. Win. I mean, these are games you have to win, okay? I know, you know, over the last few years, Miami struggled a little, but if you're not to the point where you can guarantee a win over Syracuse, then you're not as good as you think you are. I think you will beat them without problem, so there you go. All right, now on the road at UNC. How'd you lose to them last year? I don't know, but you did. Like I said, it was a home game. You have no home field advantage. Those days are long gone. I don't know what's going on now. Nobody comes to the game. There's a whole bunch of excuses that Miami fans like to try to give me. Stadium not close enough to the campus. You know, the fan base is too spread out. You know, all this kind of crap that you hear. They just don't want to go to the game. Okay, I mean, just suck it up. You know, it is what it is. Your attendance is terrible. So you know, at UNC, I have that as a toss-up. I don't see how they beat you last year. So, and like I said, you got to play them on the road. So that is what it is. Then you get Virginia Tech at home. I think you lose this game. Now I'll admit this is a good game here, and I could put this in the toss-up category, but a lot of people starting to cry in the comment section about me putting games in the toss-up category. Listen, that's how I do my predictions. Okay. You want them a different way, watch ESPN or something. This is how Uncle Lou does it, okay? But anyway, I think you lose this game to Virginia Tech. They beat you last year, and I think they get you again this year, even though you get them at home. I think they beat you. All right, then you got Notre Dame at home. I'm putting that in the toss-up category. Notre Dame was terrible last year, won 3 or 4 games. Now, some people are high on Notre Dame this year, but the problem is some people is high on Notre Dame every year, and some people just high in general. And it must be a combination of the two when it comes to Notre Dame, because I just don't see it. I really don't. Somebody had the nerve to tell me in the comment section the other day that their quarterback, what's his name? Something Wimbush. Is it Brandon Wimbush? Something Wimbush is going to be a Heisman Trophy candidate this year. The guy's never played a damn game. Okay? Now, he may be, you know, I mean, just get real. I mean, the guy could be, maybe the guy comes out and he's lights out. But predicting a Heisman Trophy candidate on a quarterback who has never played a game on a team that went 4-8 last year, get real. Notre Dame does not have the talent to keep up with the elite teams. So if you want to be seen in that category, then beat Notre Dame. You should. I'm putting this as a toss-up. It's late in the season. Notre Dame and Miami both should have their quarterback situation fully worked out by then. I mean, you're 7-8 games into the season. So the fact that both these teams are playing first-year quarterbacks shouldn't matter at that point. That should be a game you should win, right? I got it as a toss-up, though. Now, Virginia at home, again, like Syracuse, these are the teams that Miami just should be beating week in and week out without even having to think about it. Now, like I mentioned, recently that hasn't necessarily been the case with Miami. You've been struggling around a 6, 7, 8 win mark forever. You haven't won a bowl until last year in a decade. But, I mean, if you want to snap out of that funk, you know, your Virginias, your Dukes, even your UNCs, your Syracuses, you got to be beating these teams week in and week out in the ACC, okay? So I'm giving you a win there. Now, you finish up on the road at Pitt. You're toting another L there. You're not beating Pitt. Long way to travel there. I mean, basically the southernmost point in the United States, all the way up the middle of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh there. Long travel from Miami. Pittsburgh, a good team. Lost some pieces from last year, but I mean, let's not forget, I like their coach, Narduzzi, whatever the hell his name is. I don't know if he's Italian or what. Luigi or whatever it is, I don't know. But anyway, I like him. And you got to remember, Pittsburgh last year beat the eventual ACC champion in Clemson and the eventual Big Ten champion in Penn State. So Pittsburgh, no pushover. Last game of the year. Who knows what the injury situation will look like by then. Of course, that goes for both teams. But last game of the year, you know, guys are beat up, tired. I think by that point in the season, you will already know that you didn't win your division. I think Virginia Tech probably wins it. You got to travel up there. I think you tote the L at Pitt. So anyway, if you add all that up, the way I have it here, 7 games you should win without a problem. 2 games you're going to lose. without question, and 3 toss-ups. So, I mean, I could see you winning 10 games this year if things go really, really good, 10-2. Now, if you happen to beat Florida State week 3, maybe this changes up a little bit, and you're looking more around the 9, 10, or 11 wins as opposed to 8, 9, or 10 wins, and a possibility also to win your division if you can get through that Florida State game. I think you're a good team. I think really you're a year away, maybe 2, from competing for an ACC title. But I do think you'll have a good year and a potential to win 10 games, especially with a bowl game. I mean, 9-3, you win your bowl. 10-3, if you happen to go 10-2 and win a bowl, 11-2. I mean, you could have a good year here. But anyway, I'm sure you'll find something to get mad about. That's sort of the point. But anyway, there it is, your Miami preview and prediction for the Miami Hurricanes, led by none other than the football Jesus, $4 million a year youth pastor, Coach Mar Crotch. Have a great day. All right, and that brings us to team number 2 this morning, Michigan. Another team that's been requested. Almost every preview video I've done this year, somebody somewhere in the comment section has requested a Michigan preview. So, here it is. You're welcome. Now, Michigan, what are you going to get from Michigan this year? Well, you're going to get a creepy, goofy, weirdo head coach in Jim Harbaugh. You're definitely going to get that. But he's a good coach. I mean, he's got some quirks and some idiosyncrasies that are I don't really understand. But you can't really deny the guy has been successful. All right, he was great at Stanford. He was great at San Francisco. Now he's at Michigan. Hasn't really done anything there yet, but he has elevated that program some since he got there. Hasn't won really anything of significance there, but that's probably coming soon. Monster recruiting classes every year since he's been there. Now, the bad news, you lost 18 starters off last year's team. Now, I know you've recruited, but, there's a reason those 18 people were starting and not the people that are starting this year that you're trying to tell me are just as good. We'll see. If half of those people are just as good, I would say that's pretty good. If you can replace 9 out of that 18 without any drop-off, I think you'll have a pretty good year. That's going to be tough to do. I really think last year was your chance in the Big Ten, and of course you blew it in the Ohio State game. It doesn't matter. I've talked about this before. It doesn't matter whether you want to blame the refs. And maybe you blame Obama. I don't know. You can be like Tennessee and blame Derek Dooley. It doesn't matter. Point is, I think last year was your year. And you blew it. You get your quarterback back, Spate, which I think helps. I mean, if you're going to be losing that many people, 18, I mean, you could take some comfort in the fact that at least you get your QB back, so the guy that's running the show at least knows what's going on. So, a lot of these inexperienced guys on offense are going to have a veteran leader to sort of hold their hand, make sure they're lined up in the right place, know the plays, receivers know the routes they're running, linemen know the blocking schemes, all that kind of stuff. So I think that will help a little bit, breaking in some of these new players. The problem is on defense. You lost 10 starters off a really, really good defense. I talked about recruiting already, and you've recruited very well on defense, especially along the defensive line. Stole a couple of guys from Georgia that Uncle Lou really needed, and Uncle Lou really wanted to. Sort of set me off a little. You've probably seen that video, to Aubrey Solomon. You also had the other guy, Rashad Gary, whatever his name is, pretty good too. But anyway, so now the guys that you're going to be replacing them with on defense, now most of it's not like they never played. Now obviously the true freshmen have never played, but you played a ton of people on defense last year, so even though you lost 10 of your starters, it's not like you're putting people out there who've never played a college snap before. But like I said, it's the reason they weren't starting. So, we'll have to see how long it takes that defense to catch up with where last year's defense was. All new receivers. Again, something that'll be aided by the fact that you've got a veteran quarterback returning. Running back, I think you'll be okay there. I can't remember that guy's name now. Evans. He averaged like 6 or 7 yards a carry last year, so you got you a pretty good running back there. But O-line, again, you just lost. I think you lost 3 starters off that offensive line. I think you have a talented team. Your problem is, you play in a tough division. with Ohio State and Penn State. And I don't know. Let's just run through the schedule and see what we're looking at here. Now, of course, week 1 is the Florida game. I've been back and forth on this game probably half a dozen times. I was on Michigan early in the offseason. And then the more I started looking into it and all these starters you're losing and all that kind of thing, the game is down south. And I said, I don't know. Florida should be able to beat them, with Michigan losing that many starters. And then Florida struggled really against top-tier teams lately. Maybe Michigan has a chance. Then I went back to Florida. Anyway, now Florida's got half their team suspended. I mean, I really don't know what to expect here. Jim McElwain's playing monkey see, monkey do. With the quarterback situation, doesn't want to tell anybody who's starting and all that. I think you're going to see 2 quarterbacks in that game. It's my opinion. Wouldn't surprise me at all, though, if Malik Zaire gets to start. That's where my money would be right now. But anyway, when I did the Florida preview, I listed it as a toss-up, and then later I said, well, shoot, I should have had Florida as a loss, because then all those suspensions came out, Now I'm back to having it in the toss-up category. I really just can't figure out either of these teams, to be honest. Michigan's got too many unknowns with replacing all those starters. You don't know, how these suspensions are going to affect Florida. Florida lost a ton of talent, too, particularly on defense, to the NFL. Their best offensive playmaker, Antonio Callaway, is one of the suspended players. No matter which quarterback they start, he's not going to be all that good. So no outcome would surprise me here, to be honest. No outcome would surprise me. Toss-up. All right, home at Cincinnati. You'll win that. Home at Air Force. You'll win that. So at worst, you're starting out 2-1. Your new players should be good and broke in by then. When you get your first road game of the year, or true road game, that Florida game, of course, is in Texas, at Purdue. Now, not a gimme, and if you're a little bit worse than maybe I'm expecting you to be, maybe this is a close game, but right now, I just can't see you losing that. Just on talent and coaching alone, you should win this game. I mean, you're better than Purdue. I have you as a W. That takes you into your bye week. Then you come home, play Michigan State. Michigan State, 3-4 wins last year. 3, I think. They won't be bad. They're not going to be that bad this year. It's just not going to happen. They'll be better. How much better, I don't know. Not better enough to beat you, in my opinion. I think you beat your little brother, Michigan State, at home and get the W. On the road at Indiana. Another game. Back-to-back road games here, Indiana and Penn State. You need to beat Indiana, and I think you can, and I think you will. I have you as a W there. You're not beating Penn State, okay? On the road at Penn State, I don't see that happening. I think you take a loss there. Very possible that that's your first loss of the season, though, depending on how that Florida game goes. But I fully expect that to be your first Big Ten loss. But I've got to give the advantage right now to Penn State in that game. I just don't see you going on the road with that young and inexperienced of a team and winning against a team the caliber of Penn State. Not easy to play there either. Home to Rutgers, home to Minnesota. Win. Rutgers, worst record in the Power 5 last year. I think they were 2-10. If that game's even close, then you got problems and situations that you need to address. Minnesota, they're doing something weird with their coach up there. I don't really know what's going on with that. Now, Minnesota, pretty good team. That's not going to be a cakewalk either. I'm telling you that now. You get them at home. You should win that game in the big house. Minnesota, not a pushover. Don't sleep on them. Again, if Michigan is worse than I think they'll be, and I don't think they're going to be bad. I think they're going to be good, despite the fact they're replacing 18 starters. Your roster's loaded with talent. If you're not quite as good as I expect you to be, then, the Indiana game, the Minnesota game could be tricky, but I expect you to win those games, okay? Then you go on the road at Maryland, another win for you there. On the road at Wisconsin, Camp Randall, you're not winning that one. That's another loss for you there. And then you get Ohio State at home this year. Ohio State is beating you. They're loaded. I mean, loaded is not even the word. They're stacked. I know you get this game at home, but really, like I mentioned previously, last year was your year to beat Ohio State, and you blew it. Don't matter who you blame. I don't care who you can blame me. It doesn't matter. You blew it, okay? Blame whatever you want. Last year was your year. Ohio State beats you this year, and that's just what it is. So another year goes by without Michigan playing in the Big Ten title game. How is it possible that that's never happened? I don't know. Jim Harbaugh's the next coming, but hey, eventually you got to win your division, okay? Maybe next year. Now next year, you'll benefit next year from all these new players that are playing this year, for sure. You'll benefit. So maybe next year's your year. That's not to say you'll have a bad year this year. You're in a stacked division with Ohio State and Penn State, and you're just not winning it this year. I mean, that's just the way it is, no matter how mad that makes you. That's the thing about anger. It just doesn't change reality. Have a great day, too.
You, Jim Harbaugh? Really? Is this what you want? Here, Aubrey Solomon. Is this, you want us to put Jim Harbaugh's stupid spend the night parties? Huh? Hey, I'm Jim Harbaugh. Look around. Have a spend the night party. Oh my God. I get all these high school kids over to my house. We'll put our pajamas on and have a freaking spend the night party. Well, that's great. Great job. Enjoy yourself up there.